Welcome back, Arcanists. In this episode, we journey to Regal Heights, where Volke and company finally witness the breathtaking beauty of Hexa's homeland. But the stunning views aren't the only surprise. Meet Brom and Vinder, masters of hydra and gargoyle magic. As Zaxis fumbles the art of asking for help, Volke seeks wisdom and earth manipulation from Vinder, a true-form gargoyle arcanist. However, things don't go quite as planned. Hospitality, mystery, and unexpected lessons await. So grab a seat, and if the food isn't up to par, you know what to do. Let's dive in.
Hello and welcome back to the Frith Guild podcast. I'm your host Eric.
And I'm co-host Scott.
And today we'll be getting into chapters 31 through 35 of Master Arcanist. Before we get into that, we always like to thank you guys for listening. If you could, let us know how we're doing by like, share, subscribing, whatever it is you are capable of doing. And for those that haven't gotten the news yet, especially because I know Shami posted it on her Facebook page, and I'm super excited to be able to show it off of. I've been able to bond to my creature. I am a Typhoon Dragon Arcanist now.
Just waiting for the powers to show up.
Yeah, exactly. I might go for a swim later, see if I can breathe underwater, that kind of thing.
It's worth a shot.
Exactly. Now, we do also want to remind everybody that DragonCon nomination is still available, so please jump on. I put the link down below, so there's zero reason why we don't go and vote for Shami and try to get her not only to DragonCon, but we want her to win DragonCon. So, again, please jump down below, get that taken care of. And with that, we'll get into this week's chapters.
Chapter 31, we're starting to see a little face-off here. So a ghoul approaches. There's also a Volke. Is that how you say that, I think? So giant snake and a ghoul are going to fight, and we also have a giant snake. So Terracana uses body slam. There's a moment where Volke's a little confused why there's a full-grown, plague-ridden Volke is there. It doesn't seem like there should be any plague creatures this far out in the middle of nowhere, so a little curious where he came from. They do win the fight, though, and decide that they're essentially going to kidnap the ghoul and interrogate it and try and use it to find the way back to Second Ascension, rather than trying to hunt down themselves. They figure they can use the ghoul as bait or a tracker of some sort.
That sounds like a solid plan to me.
You do what you got to do. Second Ascension is involved with this ghoul somehow. The ghoul does mention the Keeper of Corpses, as well as the Sky Titan. So wherever is the Second Ascension is, they are amassing some strong creatures, to say the least. Zelfrey is able to get his sin berries, so they bag them up and they're going to take them back. Once they get back, we do see Zaxis evoking ice, practicing his magic, and actually making a crystal phoenix. Phoenix of ice, I guess I should say. Out in the courtyard, which is probably the most creative thing he's ever done, and pretty impressive.
And with that, we get into chapter 32, Hexa's tribe. I like her choice of calling it Regal Heights, and that it's this really lavish sounding place, obviously Heights being very tall. This is a city that is built into the cliff, so they're using the cliffs itself and the rock. Again, a lot of earthbending feel to this area. Thankfully they do have everything lined with wrought iron for safety, fences, all that good stuff, so you don't have a drunken night of foolishness and debauchery and you end up falling accidentally to your doom at the gorge below. And I guess child safety, that's probably the bigger part of it, but
screw the children, make sure the drunks are safe,
Right. Oh, the children would know better than that. We need the adult children to be a little bit more careful. Now, they also talk about how the stone colors are gold, red, and black. These are the different types of minerals that are throughout this whole area. And again, I just love the imagery that she paints with the colors that are in the stone. So it's not just this bland place. It's very vibrant with colors. Volke walks up and meets the guard that is at the very entrance, and they're already expecting him, thankfully, and they're basically like, yep, we're just going to show you where our leaders are, and we are going to have a measuring contest of sorts. We'll say Eldrin measuring contest, since we want to keep our head out of the gutter here. I don't know what you guys were thinking, but Zaxis loses his shirt because, hey, we're basically at the beach now, or in Regal Heights, where everybody doesn't wear sleeves anyways. So I imagine most guys walk around shirtless. Zaxis is at home here, and we really, really need to remind Zaxis to just chill out and be less modest about himself. Even though Zaxis has this massive chest to lower back around to his hips sized arcanist mark that signifies him as a god arcanist, they still don't really know Zaxis is a god arcanist because his word of that hasn't really gotten to Regal Heights.
And that brings us to chapter 33, Powerful Arcanists. So we're getting a tour of the city. There's beautiful etchings in the buildings, a lot to admire. Zaxis is making comments, and he's essentially jealous of Volke because Volke got to Fortuna and he was celebrated, and Zaxis gets to Regal Heights and they don't really know him or know about god creatures. And similar to what we saw before, does a lot of comparing himself to Volke and feeling like he has to achieve everything that Volke has achieved.
This is one of those things I really wish that Zaxis would eventually stop comparing himself so much.
It's tough because he gets the plague right after Volke cures it. He gets a god creature right after Volke gets one. He's constantly the little brother who's just waiting to catch up, and slightly behind just because he's not as advanced in his magic because he hasn't had as much time to practice. He's just behind, unfortunately.
In all fairness, Zaxis did bond first.
He did?
He bonded to Forsyth first. Granted, Volke had to outdo him by bonding a fully grown creature, but still.
So we go into kind of the main building of Regal Heights, and the two Eldrin that we are going to be comparing ourselves to. We have a true form gargoyle and a 10-headed hydra. So very, very older creatures. You can tell they've been bonded for a long time. Obviously, a true form anything is impressive, so we're wondering, how did he get the true form? Where did that come from? Zaxis is trying to take the lead and recruit them, in the sense saying, hey, we need you to come fight in the war. This is going to be the war to end all wars. If you don't do this, terrible things going to happen. And the response is pretty much we're your cannon fodder. We can't fight god creatures, so if we go out there, we're just gonna die. So Volke ends up kind of smoothing things out, and they make a deal that if the plague creatures from inside the gorge and the canyons are all cleared out, then they will support Volke and Zaxis in their adventures, and Zaxis really, really wants to take the lead on this one.
And Volke's like, I can do it in a day. And Zaxis is like, I'll do it in a week. I'm not going to up you, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to be the one that does it.
It is. It's such a poor bargaining moment. I'll give you $20. I'll give you 10. That's less. That's worse offer. Luckily, they're very chill about it, and they're like, as long as it gets done, we're good to go. But maybe we need to fix this infighting thing going on.
And that's where chapter 34, Aggressive Hospitality, starts up at. I don't think that Volke would have really I don't know if he would have had to have been as diplomatic in Regal Heights as he was in Thronehold, but I think that Zaxis definitely got very, very lucky that he didn't upset Vinder and the other arcanist with the way that he was going about things. It was just basically you're gonna do what I tell you because. Which Hexa has this very.
To be fair, it's kind of what Volke did to the Queen, and it ended up working. But I think that was more luck than anything else.
Right. So it may be just overall luck in general. I mean, when Volke met Queen Ladislava, it was outside of the city and was basically like, look, we got to help each other here. Like this is a war you definitely will not be able to win by yourself. Let me help you. I just ask that you help us in return later. When he went back into the castle, yeah, he kind of just like, look, you're going to listen to me now. He also just completely saved their city. He also cleared out several of the basilisks that were running around there. So he kind of had some weight to throw around with it. Whereas Zaxis was just kind of like,
hey, I'm buff. You listen.
I'm buff. I have a snack pouch.
Yes, still carrying around his jerky.
So again, Zaxis very lucky. We get a very cute moment with Hexa because we find out that she is basically the daughter of the chief of the area. So she is super excited. She wants to get permission to go hire a tracker so that they can find Bethica. And she's like running to the door as soon as she gets her approval of being able to get a tracker. And they're like, well, wait a minute, just slow down. Don't like die on the way to get to them. We also find out that King Odion had stopped there on his way through from the Fenris Wolf bonding. Basically said that he was Volke's person, and Volke was like, he got affected by the plague. He kind of just went off on his own. So hopefully you guys didn't do too much or he didn't cause any problems.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it.
And then Volke, noticing that Vendor has his true form gargoyle and knowing that gargoyles have stone manipulation, he does ask Vendor to basically help with a little bit of training. Maybe Volke can get some pointers about stone manipulation. And Volke basically straight knocks off the socks of Vendor because Volke knows a true form. And this is about when Vendor realizes that Volke still has a true form arcanist mark from Luther or something similar. So we move over to the Holiday Inn here, and he wonders if the pillows are kind of similar to like the hydra heads, where if you cut one off, two more will grow back. It's just like that area kind of thing. And he gets some sleep, wakes up to somebody pounding on his door. He goes and answers it. Housekeeper just kind of like barges in, starts fluffing the pillows, putting the room back together. The housekeeper asks about how the food was and noticed that Volke didn't touch it. And he's like, I'll have to tell the chef that he needs to do better, and just yeets the plate out the window and everything.
It's a great dynamic. The city's just so laid back, and everyone just embraces this giant family.
Exactly. And like, I feel like this is how Gorons would be if you were to stay in a hotel with Gorons, like in Breath of the Wild. Like,
it has that vibe to it.
We also have mention of the Ghostwood that's at the very bottom of the gorge, and we kind of just want to remember to not go down and visit the bottom of the gorge, or basically make sure we watch our steps as we go about our business. And I would really love to be able to selectively view a city or like a building or a room, like how Volke does with his tremor sense. Like, to be able to stand there and just close your eyes, and I imagine as he progresses, he gets better and better. But to be able to just stand there and just see everything through your mind's eye because of your tremor sense. That would be amazing.
It's a whole nother, like, it is another sense. It truly is, and so much more powerful than anything else he has.
So, I mean, again, I bet, like, with Toph, when she had to keep her feet up off the ground so she didn't see when she was sleeping, like, again, I get that, but I feel like that's a fairly small downside to a very large boon.
Yes.
And then I imagine this is kind of something that Adele just has with his mind reading and starting to make progress on turning it on and off.
Does bring us into chapter 35, so mastering world serpent magic. Volke is going to train with Vendor. Vendor starts asking him about the training he's done. Volke mentions, hey, I'm under Zelfrey. Vinder's like, I've heard of him. He's kind of a scoundrel. He sucks. You're no good. You should definitely not have trained with him. You're no good because you've trained with him. He does make himself this little stone bridge that he goes out on to kind of show off. Volke gets a little irritated and does kind of go full force on him, fully reshapes the pit. There's spikes going up. Vinder quickly realizes he is outmatched in stone manipulation, and ends up telling Volke that he pretty much just insulted Zelfrey because that tends to piss people off when you insult their trainer, their master. So he was trying to get Volke to do something stupid, and the fact that he was able to maintain control is a huge win for him.
This is one of those just straight badass moments with Volke, and he catches Vinder like mid-air dropping into the gorge because he took all of the stone away. And I can only imagine Vinder was probably like, oh shit, like I done messed up.
Yeah, Vinder's like has like a little match and he's showing off, and Volke's like, I got a flamethrower. Like let's compare now.
Exactly.
Vinder has actually heard of Eventide, which is not surprising because it seems like everyone has heard of her. And he's like, oh, I wanna catch up with her. Like, she's great, she's amazing. I want my Eventide story still. There's a lot of lore there that has not been unearthed. We do get trackers coming that are going to help Vethika, so they do find them. They're arranged. They are tried to go search for her specifically, but she's been gone too long, so the trail is lost. Volke realizes there is something that has a trail that is still fresh, and that's the ghoul. And we know the ghoul is related to Second Ascension. So if we can track this ghoul that we held prisoner and interrogated earlier, we can, hopefully find where Second Ascension's lair is. So this gives Hexa some renewed faith, and they go back out on the search for this ghoul, which would have been there, only a day or two ago compared with Vethika, who had come through weeks ago, probably.
Gonna find her. There's the last thing we do. We're gonna find Vethika because Hexa needs Vethika.
She does. That relationship really blossomed very quickly. So I'm a full supporter, but it was very much like all of a sudden, like, oh, Hexa and Vethika are a thing now, I guess. That does bring us to the end of chapter 35. So for our bestiary, we are going to do a deeper dive into the gargoyle. We saw our first gargoyle back in Dread Pirate Arcanist, the plague-ridden one. So there's a lot more that's been unearthed since then. We have, our true form gargoyle with Vinder, and generally, gargoyles are these large humanoid creatures with rock-like skin, very similar to what you think of on the sides of buildings, and the coloration is actually based on their birthplace. So, depending where they are, different colored skin, wings, claws, etc. To bond with them, you actually have to hunt down the creature over rocky terrain, starting when the sun sets. So, if you aren't able to find and catch up to this gargoyle before sunrise, you fail, and you aren't able to bond. They are tier 3, and they are progeny, with usually dwelling near canyons and cave systems, and eating canyon shrimp or elemental mushrooms to end up laying eggs. And they usually lay these eggs in places with plenty of rocks, presumably for some sort of camouflage. They are able to evoke dust, so both gargoyles and their arcanists do, and they manipulate stone and metal. So this includes the dust that they evoke as well. They can't control soil or sand, so they do need it to truly be stone, rock, metal, hardened material. Their augmentation is hardening, so they affect the toughness. So you can either do things like make skin rock-like, make things hard as diamonds, or kind of go the opposite way as well. And typically when they're imbuing, they grant defensive properties, so hardening, making items indestructible, that sort of thing. They do have the canyon aura, so this transforms any nearby rocky terrain to the Arcanist command, so rocks can split apart to shocking depths. So really just kind of taking their manipulation onto the next tier. Their innate abilities is they do have tougher than normal skin, they have tremors through stone that they can sense, and they require only 2 hours of sleep before being fully rested, which might be the best innate ability that's come up so far.
Yes.
I would want a gargoyle just for that one alone. Their true form is a virtue, so they must embody civilization and the need to build in order for their Eldrin to achieve true form. And once they do, they grow taller than most adult humans. They get golden talons and a second set of wings. Their eyes also appear to shimmer like silver, and their body becomes a lot pure material or appearance. With this, they get the anti-entropy power, so the true form gargoyle radiates magic that prevents the degradation of structures and objects. So we see things like houses won't rot, streets won't wear, clothing won't fray. Anything has to be specifically damaged for it to truly decay. In world, they are often seen as the pinnacle of repairmen, so they construct and fix famous buildings, they grow civilization. They're spooky to say it, but they are considered a welcome sight because people know that it means that the town is going to be prosperous and have abundant resources. They are famous in the real world for adorning buildings in Europe. They're seen as protectors and often mark architectural errors. They're associated with buildings and civilization, and hence the relationship to those things in the Frith Chronicles.
Don't forget the TV show, the cartoon show back in like the early 90s. Okay. Gonna put it somewhere in this general vicinity, but don't forget that. It's a heck of a good show.
Yes.
All right. With that, I think this will end this week's episode. Next week, we'll be going through chapters 36 through 40. So we're moving along. Scott, did you have anything else you'd like to add before the end of this week?
Go vote for Shammy.
Yes, absolutely. Go vote for Shammy. We're going to take her all the way.
Whoa.
All right. We'll catch you guys next week.